Hello for all our wine lovers
and book lovers.
This is Wine Sisters Book Club.
Well, this is another surprise and delight episode.
Yes, surprise and delight, baby.
Are you going to do that for all of them?
Heck yeah. It's my thing.
It's just who I am. It's a part of me.
Yeah. It's a youngest sister thing.
Because you're super young, and I'm really old. So we have clarified Nikki's thoughts on young and old. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you have to go listen to our Onyx Storm episode.
And I feel like I just need to say, like, I wasn't trying to say that people in their 30s are old. Like, it's just, you know, like, as you get older, it's just this, like, weird thing trying to wrap your head around age. Like, I don't know.
You don't associate with being in your 30s, yet here you are in your 30s looking older than me.
I know last night I was with our sister Jordan's daughter and her friend, and they're 14. And I was like, I'm one of the girls. I am 14. Let's gossip.
No, this is young. Should I take your wine away?
Maybe. Okay.
Well, we're super excited to do this. And I will say the theme of this episode is growing up in the wine industry. And it's probably the question that Nikki and I get asked the most. Mm-hmm. By people we work with, people we meet in the industry, friends, family, random strangers on the street.
Right. Like the person at Safeway when you're checking out and they see your last name is Wenty and they're like, oh, are you part of the family? What was that like?
Totally. All those checkers.
I swear it's like a question I get when you put in your like card number.
100% though. Randomly when people realize we're a part of the family, we get the question. Mm-hmm. And most of the time we're answering the question, it's in a hurried situation or in a media interview, which is always a specific tone. So we thought we'd give you the no bars.
Uncut.
Raw. Real. Wine sisters, who are we and what is this life all about?
Right. You know, all of that industry, all of that soil.
I can't. I want nothing to do with you already. We haven't even started the episode. So we have a list of questions and we're just going to go back and forth and we're going to give it to you real and raw. This is exactly what both of our perspectives are and they are different.
Yeah.
And same.
And the same. Probably. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We haven't practiced this.
We haven't. No. So Nikki, why don't you ask me the first question?
Okay. Well, the easiest one, the one that we get literally every time we talk about this is, did you know you were going to be a part of the industry, like as you grew up?
So for me, I did not. I felt like Wenty was a really big company. What it felt like to me, a big company for a small town. And in some ways I felt, I don't want to say suffocated by it, but it felt like it was always with me. Do you know what I mean?
Sort of, but like I don't think I had that sense until I was in my 20s.
Really? Yeah, to me, Wenty definitely felt like it was everywhere all the time. I think because our parents talked about work pretty constantly at the dinner table to the way that people maybe talked about me or thought about me at school to quite literally vineyards everywhere. So when you're looking around Livermore, and of course there are 50 other wineries here. At the time when we were growing up, there wasn't quite as many wineries here.
But still a fair few.
A fair few, yeah. I just felt like it was everywhere and I was super strong-willed and I still am. And so I really wanted to go figure out what I wanted to do with my own life. And it's so funny. I always remember when I was young because I really wanted, honestly, when we were young, to be like a singer or an actress. That I never really even imagined myself working in like a quote unquote ordinary job.
Yeah. You're like, what do you mean? I'm talented.
I am destined for stardom. And I genuinely thought so. I genuinely thought that was going to happen in my life, which makes me laugh because that's the last thing I want today. Yeah. I want
average
quiet
life.
Yeah. I want the quiet.
Yeah. I think I like on the converse, like I knew that I wanted to be in the industry from a very young age. I think in the beginning I was like, I'm going to be a track star. I'm going to be a singer.
You could have been. Nikki was the fastest girl in school.
Have you guys seen that meme that's like, You all remember who the fastest kid in elementary school was. It was me. I was the fastest kid in school.
Honestly, this is just funny and we have to tell the story. But I must have like made friends with bullies. I don't know. But I was bullied throughout school for different reasons. But I was in fourth grade, we had school that mixed like fourth and fifth. They mixed the grades. And so I was friends with a bunch of fifth graders. And one day they all ran away from me when I got to school with Nikki. And they were being just bullies, just mean. And Nikki went and chased them down. Mind you, she's a grade younger than me. So at this point, she's in third grade. And she went and chased down these fifth graders, caught them, made them like come turn around and apologize to me. So not only is she fast, but she's fierce.
I'm just a little Rottweiler.
Anyways, so like, but it is the truth. Like she was the fastest girl in school. So you could have been a track star.
Right. Well, so I think that one of the things that for our childhood, I think that was different than what our parents' childhood was like my dad, my aunt, my uncle, they were asked to like round up the cattle before going to school in the morning. And I think the amount of work that they did for the business, for our family, kind of off put my dad. Like he did not want to put us in the same situation. So he invested us into sports. Like he was like, you are in sports, you are in music. Like I'm going to have all of your time filled up. Like my mom too, like they both really wanted us to be
Enriched.
Yeah. And, so we didn't really work until we were probably 14.
Yeah. Until we were old enough to have legal internships. Basically.
Right. Yeah. Like when we got a worker's permit to work at 14, that's when we started working for the family business during summers, only during summers, because they wanted us to be focused on schoolwork during the school year. And so I think it's like all of like this mental thing. Like my dad worked for the business basically his whole life and he didn't want that for us. So he did the polar opposite and like basically didn't let us do anything for the business or didn't bring us around the business all that often.
Yeah.
Until we were 14-ish. So like the first 14 years of our lives, we didn't touch the business. The second section of our lives, like we were invested in the business and started to understand it better, but I still don't think, I think because of that missing 14 years where I just like lost the gravity of it all, but I still wanted to do what my dad did. Like I wanted to be in charge of vineyards. I wanted to work outside. I was like, how could anyone say no to this job? Like you get to be outdoors all the time.
Because you were always kind of the tomboy of the family.
Yeah.
We always joke that Nikki was the boy that my dad never got because he
has 3 girls,
has 3 daughters, and he was sort of like focused on like Nikki said, making sure we all played sports, and we all played tons of sports. But I think Nikki, you were the one who showed interest in dirt and like doing what he did and getting your hands dirty. And so then he kind of jumped on that, and you were just the tomboy of the family, which is funny because now you might be like even girlier than me, but I was always the girly girl.
Yeah. But I think I'm still a tomboy in that like I don't care about getting my hands dirty.
Yeah,
like,
you still work in the dirt.
Yeah, but I love a nice dress.
Yes, you do. I made her change her hair before we did this podcast.
Yeah, I did have like a big bow in my head.
She did, and I was like, take that out right now.
Yeah, 80s prom girl.
Yeah, I'm still the controlling bossy one, maybe.
You're like half. So Aly's like half the oldest sister, half the middle sister. So she
have an identity crisis.
I
have an identity crisis.
Meanwhile, I am like a through and through youngest child.
You are youngest child. But I think back to that, I think that's like such an interesting point that you just made. But I think also what was fun about our parents is that, yeah, they didn't put any pressure on us to work in the business. When I told my parents I wanted to go be a journalism major at school and be in broadcast and go on the news because that's what I ultimately decided, they were gung-ho and trying to figure out any which way they could make that happen, you know, and I think that is really awesome. They never pressured me to work for the business.
No.
Never.
Yeah, I think the only time I ever felt any pressure not to work for the business, but to stay in the wine industry, because like I said, I went to school for wine and viticulture. I worked for Wente for about a year after I graduated because they had recently lost their viticulturist and they needed someone to come in before harvest. And I knew all the ranches, like I knew everything. So they were like, you just graduated with this degree, come help us until we can rehire after harvest. And then be on your merry way, because we do have another rule to have at least 3 years to 5 years of experience.
5.
We like 5, but 3 was the original thing we talked about, and then we were like, 5 sounds better. So anyways, I stayed at Wente for about a year after graduation to just help out, and then I left. And when I was leaving, I was actually going into the tech industry. And my dad, in his last ditch effort before I left, to move into San Francisco, he took me to Napa, and we had no plans. We had no tastings. He just drove me around Napa to every different peak. We spent like 8 hours just driving around Napa so that he could show me like all of the different vineyards there, all of the wineries. We ended up going into Charles Krug, which is where our great-great-grandfather learned to make wine and grow grapes, and had like an on-the-spot tasting that they were able to do for us. And he just like was trying to sell me on, staying in wine, but I was so convinced that I was going to marry my now husband, and I just needed a little bit more time with him. So I moved to San Francisco, worked in tech for a year, and a year was enough. I think I roped him in. He decided to marry me.
That was your year of rebellion. But wait, that's the cutest story of you and Dad. I didn't even really realize you guys did that. By the way, no one ever did anything like that for me.
But you never worked in wine. So like he was like trying to reel me back, because I literally had only worked in wine. All of my internships, like every single thing I did was in wine. Like I didn't even work at a frozen yogurt shop like you did. So like I had I had no other experience besides wine. And so I think he was like, don't leave. We have you. He didn't care if I worked at Wente. He just wanted me to work in wine. So when I came back to wine a year later, he was pretty pleased.
Yeah. And I realized really quickly I did not want to work in news, because it's this endless cycle of negativity, and news stations at the time were taking all of the money out of the news teams.
Yeah.
I mean, and they still probably are.
Right.
Local news is not glamorous. It is sort of like what accident happened, who got hurt or murdered. I mean, what terrible thing is going on in politics. And so I thought about, okay, I love storytelling, love writing, love media. What could I do? Marketing, which I grew up interning in marketing for our family's business my entire life. Nikki, you did kind of a host of different jobs.
Yeah, I did marketing one summer. I did the vineyards like 5 summers, and then I did the cellar and lab one summer, and then I did golf. But that was like my one thing that Dad let me do during the school year, so I could work on weekends. And I was like a golf cart girl, just cleaning clubs and stuff.
Interesting. For some reason, I just always remember you doing golf, but maybe that's because we were a little bit older. And I rebelled in my senior year and got a job at a yogurt shop, and they were mad because school was our job. So we weren't really allowed to have jobs, but I had already had a college acceptance at this point and good grades. So anyways, but yeah, so I knew I liked marketing. And I weirdly ended up working in land development. It's like such a random story, but I did that for 2 years, which I will say made me grow up really quick. I was a 22-year-old girl who worked for a construction company that was doing a big project on a retired Army base. So imagine a 22-year-old girl working on an Army base on a job site of a construction company. And I was working with local politics. I was on the entitlements team to like basically help these projects come to life. And my goodness, I grew up through life experience and realized, one, that I didn't really care for the industry that I was in. Good experience. I really understand how things come to be in a city planning perspective. So that's kind of fun. And wound up working for Constellation Brands just by grabbing coffee with this gal, Michelle Perry, who's now kind of a mentor to me. And I worked for her for many years on her team. Mm-hmm. So that was how I got into wine.
Yeah. So going backwards to our childhood again, I personally have 0 memories of the winery itself as a child, like child. Like once I was doing internships at 14, 15, like I was working over there. So I remember the winery then, but like I do not remember Dad taking us there. Do you?
I remember not the winery itself, but going into his office quite frequently with Mom. Like I will never forget. I'll like remember the way his office smells. Like that's embedded into my brain. But no, not the winery itself. I don't really remember running around it or doing anything in particular.
Right.
Going there in Mom's car to pick up wine at the old tasting room. Totally remember. And going in Dad's office.
See, I remembered the office. I remember The Office. I remember Larry DePietro.
Yeah, I remember Larry DePietro too.
I do not remember the winery at all, which is like so bizarre to me. It's like blacked out space in my brain. But we have so many memories of the vineyards, like going out in the vineyards on horses, going out on ATVs, like all the fun stuff. But everyone always asks, like, oh, what was it like going into the winery as a kid? And I'm like, literally, I don't know.
I know, I don't remember it either. But we did, every Sunday we would go horseback riding, and we would ride our horses through the vineyards, and sometimes pretty extensive rides, like up into the hills, down hills. My least favorite thing. I hated going downhill on the horses because they kind of slip the whole way. Like their feet just slide, and it would make me so nervous. But we are a horseback riding family, and I think that's where Dad would really talk to us about the business, the vineyards, looking at the Livermore Valley. Our dad was a huge proponent for making Livermore a destination. So I think that's where he like really shared his spirit and passion with us to embrace what was in front of us.
Right. And like it was so beautiful, and the like land is so expansive, and the horses were so great. Like we had very well-mannered horses. There's a couple scary memories of Aly like falling off the horse, underneath the horse saddle, going underneath, crazy.
We were once like the saddle went fully under the horse. I was like completely under the horse's feet. I mean, it's
but
amazing.
You didn't get trampled.
I know, it's amazing. I'm alive. We've had some crazy experiences in that way. I mean, our mom got bucked into barbed wire when she was trying to go ride bareback.
No, she was trying to grab me.
I know she was trying to grab you, but I think she was bareback. Or was she on a saddle? I don't remember either, but we'll had to go to the hospital.
Yeah. We'll have to ask Scott.
And speaking of horses, this is so funny, but this is a core memory of mine that I'll never forget. Like growing up on the ranch, I think I wanted to have a Sound of Music moment, and we had a bunch of horses. And I thought it'd be so fun one day if I got like a cute little basket. I'm pretty sure I was even wearing a dress. I must have been, I don't know, in 8th grade, maybe a freshman in high school, and I got this wicker basket, filled it up with oats, put some carrots in it, apples. Like I wanted to go in and like be one with the horses. And I like took out my little basket, and one horse realized I had oats, and so another came, and I'm trying to give a carrot to another, and all of a sudden I am in the middle of a horse stampede, basically, and they are going insane for my basket, and I freak out because I'm like about to get trampled, quite literally, and they take bites of the wicker basket itself, totally tearing up the basket, and I have to jump out and like escape, and I jumped into the horse hay bin so that I was protected. Like you do stupid things like this when you're growing up on a farm, and you just think that you are one with the land and the animals because you grew up there, and you're like, no, they are wild animals.
Oh yeah. No, I used to like run away from home into the vineyards, and like you'd camp out for a few hours. Like I'd grab snacks and I'd just sit out there and wait for someone to come find me. No one would ever come find me.
No one knows where you are.
I would always just walk back on my own, and no one even cared that I was gone.
So funny. But you used to have parties in the barn.
Oh, well, that was like when I was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. Like when I was older, I would have like, it wasn't like parties. It was like I would invite
you and your
like,
friends would go like climb the hay bales in the barn.
We called them the hay bale parties. And it would be like 6 to 10 of us, like not crazy party. And we would go and climb the hay bales, and we would just like hang out in there all night.
So weird. It's like a scary barn.
I know. I think that's like part of the like lure is like you're kind of scared, like you hear a noise, you don't know what it is. We'd also find like kittens out in the barn all the time.
I was just thinking the barns remind me of kittens.
Yeah.
We adopted so many cats because like barn cats kept having kittens on the property, and we would just have all these kittens around constantly, and they were adorable.
So cute.
You could almost always find kittens when you went back there, searching
know.
for them specifically.
I know. So cute. Well, what was your first memory consuming wine?
I don't know if I remember exactly, but when we were growing up on like Christmas or Thanksgiving, we would get little pours in our glass. And I always remember that. I remember kind of thinking, oh my gosh,
yeah,
this is so interesting. And when I'm talking little pours, I'm talking like an ounce, like tiny pours, but they did it so that we could smell it and participate and learn. And I can't remember how old we were when they started doing that, but I think it was
Probably pretty young.
Yeah.
For I can kind of like remember like a splash of sparkling wine where it'd just be like, you get a little champagne flute and you feel special.
Yeah.
Right? My first memory was grandma's 80th birthday in London.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was in 8th grade, so I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, something like that. And our grandmother turned 80 and brought the whole family out to London, which was like the coolest thing ever. You know, like we didn't really travel as kids. Like we have like a family home that we go to for vacations, and that's the only thing we do. We share it with our whole family, and we just go to that every summer and winter. And so we don't really go places. And so this was like a trip of a lifetime. We got to actually like get on a plane and fly somewhere
Together with all of our cousins. It was
all
so
of our
fun.
cousins.
Yeah.
Like everyone was there. And I was 13 or 14, somewhere in there. And
Yeah, because I think I was 15.
yeah, and the wine was flowing, man.
The wine was flowing in Europe.
And our parents were so like relaxed about it because we're like in a safe space. They rented out like a space for the birthday party. Grandma's friends flew in. Like it was like a huge thing. There was nowhere to go. Like no one could come get me or take me away. Taken wasn't a situation there.
Little did they know, I snuck out to the clubs in London that
Well, that
night.
was you were with Carl, who is 6'7", our cousin Carl, 6'7". No one is like I don't even know how much, like 250, like huge guy. Like,
Yeah.
no one's gonna come up and take the 15-year-old from this giant man. Yeah, you were.
I did. Me, Christine,
Carl,
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan.
We all snuck into the club.
And they left me at home, which was
did.
for the best. It was for the best. I was too young.
You
for
were a
that.
little bit young.
When did you start to like wine, though? Do you remember like when the turned the corner of, you know, I have a sip and I think it's so cool to like, oh, this actually tastes good.
I remember having mom send me wine when I was in college, and that was always fun. You know, that was when I was in a sorority and I lived with a bunch of girls, when we'd have like bachelor nights and we'd all get together and watch and we'd drink wine together. I remember that kind of being fun, and I remember that being maybe my first, I'll say, occasion drinking wine was bachelor nights with my college girlfriends.
Cute.
But I do remember like really starting to appreciate wine when I lived in San Francisco after college,
Yeah.
and just like learning more about it, trying wines from other places. When you were growing up, did you realize that Livermore wasn't the primary wine destination? Like I always thought Livermore and Arroyo Seco were where everybody grew their wine.
And see, I never felt that.
Oh.
Like I didn't understand. Like I truly didn't. Like I still remember I went to college for wine and viticulture. My first vit class, I'm sitting in the class and they start talking about the Wente family and the impact on history that our family had and the clone. And I was like, what? Like shrinking in my seat, like so embarrassed and uncomfortable because
Did your professor put two and two together that you were in the class?
yes, he was my advisor. So like he knew I was there, but he's just going through his curriculum. He didn't look at me. He didn't point me out. He was just going through his curriculum.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
And like I truly didn't get it. Like I thought Livermore was just 1 in a million. I thought we were just 1 in a million. And we really are still 1 in a million, but our family has just such a tremendous legacy in this history of wine and like all of the things that our different generations have brought to the industry in the spirit of sharing and, you know, rising tides lift all ships. Like it wasn't ships, not shifts. I always say sayings wrong.
You do.
But it wasn't like I'm not trying to brag about how great our family is. I'm just saying like I truly didn't understand the impact that we had, and the rest of our family has always tried to just better the industry. And like I think that class is when it became clear that like, oh, maybe Livermore isn't just Podunk nowhere, and maybe we aren't just a small tiny family that is like everyone else. So it was an interesting thing. So no, I didn't think Livermore was the end all be all. Like I truly didn't.
I think it's just so amazing how oblivious I was to the rest of the wine industry until I really moved to San Francisco and then went to Napa for my first time after college. Never had been there before. I guess I wasn't 21 before, so it's sort of like, why would our parents do that?
Yeah.
But there is some education to just put everything in context, like you were saying. We had no context for anything else. And when I realized that, there wasn't tons of other wineries making wine from Livermore, and that Arroyo Seco wasn't the largest appellation down in Monterey, because I really thought it was. You know, it's all I knew.
Right.
So when I was like, oh, there's so many other wine appellations, and I don't know, I remember that being such a interesting moment in life.
Well, did you ever go wine tasting in Paso or in SLO?
I did.
In college?
Yeah, we went wine tasting in college. But again, it was probably like a slow realization. But I do remember the first time I went to Napa being like, whoa, that I never realized there are other wine destinations quite like this in California. I just remember that specifically.
Yeah.
And Livermore has like an amazing charm, like kind of more of like a Western charm than Napa now is like very elevated, highbrow, very, very highbrow. Where Livermore is like the girl next door.
Yeah, like I feel like we've got like this funky, fresh, fun, like relaxed atmosphere.
100% family owned.
Right.
All the wineries in the Livermore Valley are family owned,
Which is insane. Like
that is crazy.
A lot of like really
hardworking, passionate
like
people,
engaged. Like everyone's so engaged in what they're doing.
It's
which
their
is
livelihoods.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
So
So it's super fun. But yeah, I do remember that being a big realization.
yeah. I think for me, when I started liking wine, I also got the wine shipments in college when I turned 21. But Christine actually is the one that set me up. We have like the senior leadership shipments that go out to all of our senior leaders so that all the senior leaders know what we're producing. Because like some of our senior leaders don't live in Livermore because they manage sales teams across the country. And so they need to understand what the wines taste like, right?
Right.
And so Christine added me to the list, and she added you too. But that was when I started drinking wine, and my best friend from college, Megan, and I would be like so excited because when we get the shipment of the wine, and we'd be like, "Oh, Riva's here!" Back then, I even loved Riva. Like I have loved Riva for a long time.
Riva was a first love and a forever love.
Yeah.
And I always joke that Riva runs out of the tap in my fridge and it's in my veins.
Yeah.
I love her.
I know. I love her too. Like she is so important to me.
She is my best friend.
She is there for me in all of the hard times.
Makes me emotional.
I'm tearing up.
Huge Riva fans.
Huge. And her new package. Like she is gorgeous. She's
So
an
beautiful.
icon.
Nikki, what is a core memory you have of just growing up? Like, be it our parents or something they instilled in you, or just...
I mean, I think that like all of my core memories revolve around like when it comes to like family and business and, you know, the wine industry, it's really around the horseback riding. Aly and I used to vie for Jordan's attention. Like we wanted Jordan to love us best.
Jordan is our older sister.
Yeah. And Jordan will be a guest on this podcast eventually.
Yes, she
will.
will.
Have to get her out here. We need a third microphone.
Yeah.
We also need a setup. We've had feedback.
Yes. Yeah, we understand people don't like us holding the mics, but
This is just the way it is.
one day.
One day. But we would want Jordan to like we would fight. Aly and I would fight over like trying to get Jordan to like one of us better. And so like I just have these like memories of like going on horseback and just being like, Jordan, look at me, like watch me do this, and like wanting her to like love me the most, and dad just like shaking his head like thinking it was so funny. It's just like, you know, the like cute sibling rivalries, like all of that stuff, and just like being able to just be out in nature. Like, and I guess that's why I went into my career.
Probably. Yeah. Horseback riding, our core memory. Also fighting for Jordan's love, core memory, because that's probably why we were so competitive with each other growing up. So Nikki and I are 17 months apart, and then Jordan is 5 years older than me and 6 years older than Nikki. So of course we're like, hey, look at us. Look how fun we are. You know, we're just like obsessed with her.
Yeah.
We're still obsessed with her. She still plays hard to get.
I was with her last night though, so I think I'm the favorite.
Okay, you might be. But yeah, for me, another core memory I think is that our parents just made us work for everything.
Yeah.
things were not given to us.
No.
And of course some things were. I'm not like making my life sound like it was, super hard. Some things were, but I think they really instilled like, if you want something, you need to work for it and get it. I'll never forget. And our dad was this way, and he's a do-it-yourself kind of dad. Like, he is the ultimate, like, man. Honestly, something breaks in my house, I look at Nate and I go, should we call my dad? Because I'm thinking we could pay hundreds of dollars to have a plumber come, or my dad could fix this.
Yeah.
And he's always like, we're calling a plumber, Aly. I'm not calling your dad. But
I'm the same. I'm like, oh, I'll just call Phil. And
Yeah.
he'll just come and help me.
He does this. He knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
No, but he wanted a new patio at our house, and he decided that he was going to create this gigantic stone patio himself. And so he got the rocks, he figured out how to level it all, lay it all, mix the concrete, pour the whole thing together. I mean, you should see this patio. And Nikki and I helped him.
And
Jordan lay all those stones, get it right. And I'll never forget, I really wanted, this is hilarious, really wanted this new juicy purse. It was like a velour pink juicy purse.
Like carpet texture.
Yes, carpet texture, which also matched my like juicy sweatsuit at the time. Like, just so special. And I really wanted it, and I was determined to get it. And I was trying to make the money to get it. So I was just taking any chore I could do to make money and put it in my little, like, since we were really young, my mom had us put money into mason jars in the house. And then she would take us to the bank, and we would basically like empty our mason jars at the bank almost every week. Maybe it wasn't every week. It feels like that. I remember doing that all the time.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh my God. We did. Oh, we did it forever. So mom was trying to teach us about saving money at a young age, and dad was teaching us about hard work. Mom too. And I like put on a like raincoat. It was raining, but I was determined to have my purse by a certain date, I remember. And I think it was, I don't know, I think I was going on some date or something, and I wanted it. And so I was outside in the rain laying stones so that when it stopped raining the next day, we could pour the concrete over the stones. And I just was so determined. And I think like I'll never forget that determination, and also being like, oh my God, I'm outside in the rain laying stones so I could save enough money to buy this purse.
Yeah.
But I think it was that like hard work that they always did. And that's just a funny example, but I'll never forget that memory actually.
Yeah. No, I feel like the hard work is like so true. I remember like all of my friends would be like, oh yeah, we're going back to school shopping. And my mom's like, back to school shopping? I'm not taking you back to school shopping. You can earn money and go buy yourself clothes.
100%. It was like, you get clothes on your birthday and Christmas. And if you want other clothes, you better pick up the pace on your chores and earn some money.
Yeah.
So unless we like really guilted her. Nikki and I were also really silly growing up, and we would just like put my mom through torture together. Like in the grocery store, we'd just be
we would
wild
always
animals.
Yeah, sneak things into the cart
and like tickle her, like
yeah.
just like make it so impossible for her to just live. And now I feel sad for her because I know what it's like to be a mom with tormentors.
So what do you think the biggest challenge that you faced growing up in the wine industry is that outsiders might not expect?
I think I've been one who has gotten a little bit like, oh my gosh, you guys, there's no off button.
Yeah.
It's a family business. So holiday talk is about the business. We go over to my parents' house for dinner. It's all about the business. And a few years ago, I started saying, stop. Like, we have to talk about other things than the business, especially working at the business. It's one thing if you don't work there.
Yeah.
You feel like you're getting the updates. But then when you do work there, there's also, you need a balance. You need a break in life to be able to talk about something else.
Right. Yeah. You're good at like pointing out that we haven't stopped talking about it. I'm so bad. Like I could just talk about work, and I get myself like riled up too. Like I'll talk about things that are like hard to talk about, like issues that are going on at work, things that I want to get accomplished, but I can't. I don't have the time or the manpower. And like I get all flustered, and Ally's like, hey, we're at dinner. No talking about work.
Yeah. Yeah. If I need to have an emotional talk, I'll go during work hours and find dad and have an emotional talk. But after hours, when I have my Reba in hand, I'm ready to turn it off, have a little fun, but it's really hard to do that in family business, especially when your annoying little sister won't be quiet.
Hey, now. I thought you were the youngest.
No, it's just my skin. Well, this was super fun.
Wait, I have one more question.
Oh, okay. What?
Okay. If your winery's history were a book, what would the title be? Because we got to tie it into books somehow.
If our winery's history was a book, what would the title be? A family's story of pursuit and passion. What would yours be?
The Long Road to Wine.
Fun.
Right? I guess.
I don't know. I don't know if either of our books are getting published.
I don't think so. But it's just a fun exercise.
That was a fun exercise. Thanks for the creative jog there on my mind.
I know it took me a few seconds. I should have written down an answer when I wrote down the question.
I didn't even read that question that you had written, so that was a true surprise for me.
Surprise and delight, baby.
Well, Nix, thanks for sitting here with me. Thanks for writing out the questions.
You're welcome. I am not just the talent. Sometimes I do come with some good things.
Not often. Well, we hope this was fun to hear a little bit more about our background and true, honest, real, raw perspectives.
Yeah.
And memories.
Yeah.
Of growing up.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.